Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you on this May 8th, 2025. I have all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work. And on today's episode, we have a jet sinking off an aircraft carrier. No, this isn't a repeat. This isn't Deja Vu or Groundhog's Day. This is another jet, same aircraft carrier. So as far as money just sinking down to the bottom of the sea, that's a lot. And then we've got the FAA in shambles. I'll explain why. And Bachelor Clayton Eckard continues to dominate the news as his story has literally circled the globe multiple times. His accuser has made a press release. I'm going to read it for you guys. She, of course, has 7 felony charges against her. Boy, doesn't that sound good to say? And she's claiming everyone's out to get her. So I'll share that. Plus, Justin Baldoni continues to dominate the pop culture world news as content creators are now taking receipts as they are under attack, not just being muted, but comments, accusations of astroturfing all going on. And who's behind all of it? Well, we have our theories, and we'll cover that along with tariff talk, as it's pretty much a daily topic here. All of our lives revolve around this topic of tariffs. Well, the Chinese tariffs are now officially taking effect, and what does this mean for goods we'll be purchasing, and what happens this coming weekend as China will finally speak with the U.S. I know, they lied to us. They said they were already speaking with China. It turns out China wasn't returning the calls. So I've got that, plus Jerome Powell, Fed chairman, announcing he's not going to be lowering interest rates. So if you're trying to buy a home, this is not good news for you. But I got all of it. I'm here to tell it to you. These stories and more coming up next on The Rush. Well, they say having a baby's expensive, but this story takes the cake, or should I say lollipop. Have a listen to this.
A woman found herself in quite the sticky situation recently after finding a lifetime supply of lollipops on her front doorstep. Take a look. No, that is not the back door of a candy factory. That is Holly LaFavor's home in Lexington, Kentucky. In all, there are 22 cases of Dum Dums there. That's roughly 70,000 lollipops. So how did they get there, you ask? Well, it turns out her 8-year-old son, Liam, wanted to order some treats for his classmates. So he used mom's Amazon app.
Oh, my gosh.
Got a little carried away. The bill, a mere $4,000.
Listen, if you're Dum Dum, you're going to make this kid your new spokesperson because this kid is putting Dum Dum back on the map. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has ever bought a Dum Dum, right? It's always free. Someone's like, you want a Dum Dum? All right, I'll eat a Dum Dum. No one's ever purchased a Dum Dum, let alone $4,000 worth. So why don't you pay this kid's tuition? And by the way, what moms out there are letting their kids order things off of Amazon? I mean, I think it's more common than not, but come on, right? Make them do some chores first. Make them earn the Dum Dums. All right, well, here it is. An F18 Super Hornet fighter jet is aboard the USS Truman, or I should say was aboard the USS Truman. It is sank.
Another American F-18 fighter jet has been lost overboard. It happened on the very same aircraft carrier, the USS Harry Truman, that the previous plane fell from.
For the second time in just 9 days, an F-18 Super Hornet fighter jet aboard the USS Truman has ended up at the bottom of the Red Sea.
And remember when Doge said they were going to be auditing the Department of Defense? We're going to cut a fit. And then all of a sudden, we're just making coral reefs out of these $60 million jets. This is ridiculous. Let me, on behalf of Americans out there, all we want is lower grocery prices. We want to be able to afford college, not go into extreme debt, and not have medical crisis. We want universal health care. Hey, you want to make our lives really great? How about, you give us some paid family leave so we can enjoy time with our family that we're creating? Wouldn't this be a good idea? Yet what? I mean, when you've got so many, the U.S. has so many of these F-18s, it's like they're just dum-dum bars. You know what I mean? It's like, we've got too many. Send some back. We don't need them. Either way, and by the way, the USS Harry Truman, that's the ship that our friend worked on, Jenna Carlton, right? She worked there. There's a Starbucks on the ship. So maybe the person in control of the, these F-18s didn't get their morning coffee yet. I don't know. All right, well, I guess the FAA employees or the air traffic control employees have left because of trauma leave because the situation is so messed up at these airports. Have a listen to this.
The chaos at Newark Liberty International Airport is being worsened by air traffic controllers taking trauma leave to cope with stress from repeated equipment failures, according to the Federal Aviation Administration. At least 5 controllers have taken time off under the Federal Employees Compensation Act, which allows federal workers who suffer a traumatic injury on the job to recover with full pay. Frequent equipment and telecommunications outages can be stressful for controllers, the FAA said Monday. The impacted controllers work at the Philadelphia Tracking Center, which handles Newark arrivals and departures. While the agency continues to train replacements, officials admit they cannot quickly fill the gap due to highly specialized nature of the work.
All right, and I get that it's specialized, right? I understand this. This is a huge issue that we have going on. I'm shocked that there isn't a better way to automate this, you know what I mean? But either way, this is the world we live in, and it is nasty out there. And, statistically, some of you guys are probably listening to my podcast while you're at the terminal waiting to catch a flight. I'm sorry for you. I'm not trying to instill any fear, but we are now learning that on April 28th, the air traffic controllers' screens went dark for 90 seconds. This is insanity. Have a listen.
This period of time where controllers' screens froze or essentially went dark, leaving them unable to communicate with aircraft or track them as they were coming and going from Newark Airport. How long this outage lasted exactly, the Secretary of Transportation has said 30 seconds. Other sources tell us it was 90 seconds. The FAA is still investigating exactly what went wrong at this center that handles flights coming and going from Newark Airport.
All right, so this issue, obviously, for over a week now, there's been these crazy delays happening there. People are leaving for traumatic purposes, and it's going to be a long time till they restaff. But again, this is just, when you put people in place that don't know how to run a business, let alone something so important like this is bound to happen. All right, well, how about some Pope news? You guys want some Pope news? Let's do some Pope news. We've got Steve Kornacki. Remember him? He's the guy who is always drawing on the teleprompter. This dude always is on the telestrator. I feel like when he's in bed with his wife, he's got a telestrator going like, last time I lasted 5 minutes, but the average is 6.5. I don't know. Either way, here's what he had to say about the how soon before we learn who the next Pope's going to be. Pope Watch 2025.
They're on the clock in Rome. How long is this going to take? 3 most recent papal conclaves, no more than 3 days, 8 ballots. And that's kind of been the rule in modern times, modern in the Catholic Church. This is 1900 on. Nothing longer than 5 days to get a pope in that time span. Now, that's a little different from how things used to be.
The thing I want to know, while they're waiting in this conclave, the doors are closed, are they getting Postmates? Or is there someone cooking chili? What are they eating? I need to know what these priests are having for lunch. I like a good sit-in. If you could get, they're right there in the Vatican City, right in the smack dab center of Italy. Maybe some Olive Garden, anyhow. So I guess we'll maybe know tomorrow.
This is from 1600 to 1900. These were the conclaves back then. Look at this one. Benedict XIV took 182 days. That's 6 months here. And these all, more than a month here. Look at this. The real short one, Gregory XV in 1621 only took 2 days. But that was the outlier back then. And by the way, the all-time longest, in case you're wondering, it ran for 1,006 days. The year was 1271. And the Pope was Gregory X.
On behalf of everybody, who cares? Just tell us, get one of those telestrators like they do on The Voice, and then the Pope will turn around in one of those, this is the Voice chairs, right? And then they can choose the Pope that way. I don't know. Make it fun, They do it behind closed. This is a good reality TV. The real popes of the Vatican City, put it on Bravo. Just a thought. Don't get mad at me for blasphemy. We're just here having fun. I don't need more emails. I got an email from someone I went to church with 25 years ago. Dave, you've changed. It's like, oh, come on. Take a chill pill. Okay, so coming up next, I've got God made us in his image, and God likes a good joke. All right, coming up next, we've got updates on this Bachelor Clayton Eckard story that simply won't go away. Now, of course, we went from religiously, to use a Pope term, religiously covering this Bachelor Clayton story for a year and a half. And we took our foot off the gas as there really wasn't much going on. But now that Laura Owens has been charged with 7 felonies, the question is she going to take a plea deal or is she going to try to fight this thing? Now, her attorney, David Gingras, who we call Baby Jingy, who, by the way, has made this situation way worse for her because he ruffled feathers with me. He tried to talk trash to all the people. He really riled the base of people that wanted to find justice. And it's not like people on our side were fabricating information. She was. That's why she was charged with 7 counts of felonies, and I wasn't, right? Because I've only told the truth. Well, here we have some new updates. This is from All the Best Research on Twitter. Allegedly, on 4/20, it was an eventful day for our future felon. Not only did she celebrate Passover, but the Easter Bunny brought Laura Owens a very special Easter basket, an hour and 42-minute police raid of the casita. So again, what did they find out? People want to know. Did they find the moon bump she used to fake the belly? It's pretty much guaranteed they took her devices, cell phones, laptops, and extracted who knows what information. We're going to get a hold of all of that as it will become public, which will be super fascinating. But here's what's going on. On May 29th will be the original arraignment. That's the day I'm going to be heading to Vegas to attend Reality Steve's fan appreciation event. But I am going to try to live stream if I can, or at least get somebody there in Maricopa County to get video if they can, and we'll talk about that. But the trial is set for October 23rd of 2025. As far as I've been told, it might last 5 days, which is great because the initial trial with Clayton Eckard was only 45 minutes. They had it extended to 2 hours. But we really there's a lot more to flesh out here. And I am both surprised and not that she's really going to try to take this thing to trial. So here's what she said on her lawyer that she doesn't pay's blog, press release from Laura Owens. In the top here is a photo of Rachel Mitchell. So she posts a photo of Rachel Mitchell. And again, like I said this yesterday, Laura Owens is going to try to play the victim. She's going to say that everyone's out to get her. And here she is sharing a fan who, by the way, was there at the event, at the evidentiary hearing. And she says, they're holding a letter that called for my prosecution. How about this? He's holding a letter which called for accountability and not lying and, doing all the things that Laura Owens has done. So here's her press release. As someone who has never been charged with a crime in my life, well, hold your drink. I am stunned by the 7 felony charges announced against me by the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. These allegations appear to be the result of coordinated harassment, misinformation, and public pressure in the aftermath of a paternity case I filed against former Bachelor star Clayton Eckard. And by the way, a grand jury, ruled that they should charge her. And the grand jury is 12 random people that they showed the evidence to. So this is not a smear campaign or a vendetta. This is just the truth getting served. So she says she's been the target of a relentless campaign led by a group calling itself Justice for Clayton. And she talks about YouTubers monetized thousands of hours of content, Reddit threads, social media attacks, many of which dissected my medical history. Yes, her medical history was dissected. Yes, she sent us her medical information to the point where we found out she doctored it, right? But we did know that she was going to do this. So she then talks about her autism diagnosis, or lack thereof, because I haven't heard of any actual diagnosis she received, and how she's asked the Maricopa County to give her special treatment, which I guess was rejected. Well, in May of 2025, this month, she was indicted. Despite sustained pressure from the Justice for Clayton group, Maricopa County did not charge me with faking a pregnancy. Instead, they're allowing that narrative to linger, encouraging the perception without making the allegation, because they know it cannot withstand scrutiny. And I said this, right? I said, look, she's going to hold on with dear life to that 102 HCG level test, which, by the way, I could drink some HCG and piss out 102 level. Now, I'm not going to do that because I don't need to mess with my perfectly balanced hormonal system. I don't need to ruin my hairline here. I just turned 40. I'm not trying to mess that up with a little HCG. But the point is that, yes, she tested positive 102 for HCG. No, she never tested at a higher level that would indicate the growth of any sort of baby past several days old. And, of course, no mention here that Clayton only received 2 blowjobs from her. So either way, this is why there'll be a Netflix documentary. The blowjob babies, tonsil twins. They have omitted, and again, the fact that she faked multiple pregnancies before with twins. They have omitted the most critical fact. I had lab-confirmed positive HCG, pregnancy hormone, blood, and urine tests from licensed medical providers in their possession. So either way, all right, fine, whatever. So who cares? She's getting charged with 7 felonies. But here she is, and we think, well, maybe she's going to just, maybe this will be the wake-up call that she needs. Wrong. Not going to happen. Well, Clayton Eckard sat down with Bianca Buono from NBC 12 News in Scottsdale, Arizona, and here's what he had to say.
Does this feel like a chapter is closing for you?
I think this is one chapter's closing, but another one's opening. I truthfully believe that this journey was meant for me, and the amount of resilience it's given me, and what it's done, it's just bigger than me. So I really do feel that there's another chapter coming. What that looks like, I don't know, but I know I didn't go through this by accident.
There it is. When one chapter closes, another chapter opens. Are we wearing the same shirt? Are Clayton Eckard and Dave Neal the same man? Are we both similar strength and build in youth? No. Okay. Anyhow, the guy's a beast. Bianca, are you single? Can you mingle? Either way, there it is. So I'm sure Clayton will be attending the trial. I mean, get your popcorn out. Will they be selling popcorn at the trial? Get whatever they're giving to the Pope's conclave. Bring it over to Maricopa County if there's leftovers. We need some Tupperware, because we're going to have to definitely get some nice beverages. Maybe we'll do lunch together. I don't really know. Either way, mark your calendar for the end of October. How about we'll do the trial, and then maybe we'll do the Monster Bash. We'll all get to go to Halloween together. We'll all dress up as Laura. No, don't do that. The Scottsdale police will get triggered. They're like, Laura, she's everywhere. All right, let's move it on. So we got Blake Lively news. We have a content creator here who's calling for the sort of preservation of all receipts that are involving people getting smeared, possible astroturfing, content creators getting silenced. It is getting messy out there, and we have to come together as content creators in case there are any trends of what's taking place. Have a listen.
To everyone who is being harassed or censored by Blake Lively's team, apparently on social media, please start collecting screenshots of all these instances of being harassed, stalked, censored, anything like that. If you see it on other people's content as well, take screenshots, document that as well. Also document anything where you lose the ability to do something, such as lose the ability to comment or make a video or anything like that. Document all of it, and I'm planning to make a website right now where you can submit all these instances of harassment and or censorship and or stalking, so we can really get everything together.
Get your ducks in a row, as it were. Now, the question is being asked, is there a pattern happening? Is this what you hire Josh Shapiro for, the ex-CIA PR guy, to leave comments on different blogs? There's those Daily Mail blogs and the Facebook blog, all these random blogs where people, you ever see comments on them? Who's commenting on like a Us Weekly blog? But could it be a coordinated campaign? That's the question we're asking. Here's Ashley Brianna Eve. She's going to join me later this week. I can't wait to talk to her because she's really breaking it down great. But here's what she has to say.
How Blake and Ryan are in a new phase of their PR, and they are doubling down on narrative control. One, bot accounts. I'm not saying there are not supporters of Blake and Ryan out there, but when they start posting like this on platforms such as People Magazine, and then you go to their account and they have 50 followers or 50 friends, and it's a completely blank account. There's no pictures anywhere. It's a clean slate. Makes you think maybe astroturfing, which they are known to do. Ryan astroturfed in Kingston just about a month ago. Number two, they start silencing creators, and we've been seeing this over on TikTok. I've also seen on YouTube certain videos again are being suppressed. And so we've talked about this previously. When they first hired Nick Shapiro, there was a huge
Nick Shapiro. Did I say a different Shapiro? Nick Shapiro. I think I said the wrong Shapiro.
Of creators. And again, we're back in this cycle. So they're doubling down on narrative control. And number three, they go to the one and only place they really know to go to with their investigative journalists that they feed stories to. And it is right-wing Americans are attacking women and destroying women. I don't know how you call yourself a journalist, especially an investigative journalist, when in your article about the misogyny of it all in America and right-wingers, you include a link to me.
Yeah, and again, this is the same stuff we saw. And again, I talked to Taylor Lorenz about when this idea that just because right-wingers are attaching themselves to pop culture stories means they own the narrative. Yeah, maybe Candace Owens gets more views than I do. And by the way, the other day I made a critical joke about Candace Cameron Bure, DJ Tanner from Full House. And someone said, Dave, why do you hate Candace Owens? Chill out and get your Candaces right. There's more than one Candace. But specifically here, I got no beef with Candace Owens. But the idea that they're trying to make it look like if you're against Blake Lively, you've got you're an alt-right or right-wing follower is their way of trying to distance themselves from their own accountability.
And the video you include a link to, I'm literally wearing a Canada hat. So yes, yours truly is once again making an appearance. This time they didn't quote me by name. They linked to my TikTok, my reel on Nick Shapiro.
All right, so anyway, so you see how it's playing out, and there'll probably never be a smoking gun where it shows that these stories are originating with Blake Lively, but I do think it's ironic. Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? That Blake, of course, has accused Baldoni of a smear campaign, but it's most likely that they're actually running astroturfing themselves. That's the crazy world we live in. But, when you know that this stuff exists, you see it from a mile away, and you just avoid it and you call it out, and then it doesn't have the same effect. Now, my channel on YouTube has been robust. We haven't really had many issues other than a couple demonetizations, but I did see a spike in people joining my Patreon, and I thank you guys for that, patreon.com/Dave Neal. Folks that just wanted to donate a couple extra bucks to the tip jar, I appreciate it. We go live every day, but if you don't have the means to do that, the best way you can support my channel is to watch every episode in its entirety, share it with friends, leave a nice review, and subscribe. That's the best way you can help and get the algorithm juiced up so that it continues to feature our channel. We've seen a tremendous growth this year. We grew from 80,000 to 133,000 followers and subscribers on YouTube. And I appreciate every single one of you for that. All right, we'll have more updates on that this afternoon. But coming up next, more talk on the tariff wars and what's going down with the negotiations with China. We'll have that next. So the big question people have is Trump serious about keeping these tariffs around? Was 145% just a dick measuring contest with China? Is he going to stick with it? Well, now he's saying probably.
China says in order to have substantive negotiations, you have to bring down your 145% tariffs. Are you open to pulling back your tariffs in order to get China to the negotiating table?
No.
There it is. There's your answer. Now, Scott Bessent is set to, I guess, negotiate with China, I believe, on Sunday. And people said, yeah, but have you guys negotiated already? And Scott Bessent said no, when in fact, pressed the last few weeks, Donald Trump says, yeah, no, we've been negotiating. So he's dangling the world's economy, and I'm sure he loves the power here, but he's got us by the balls. And look, these billionaires, they can handle a little turmoil, but a lot of folks, you and I, can't. And here's the Port of Los Angeles now receiving the goods from China that will be highly tariffed.
Big ships move pretty slow, so it's taken a while for the tariffs that President Trump imposed a few weeks ago to actually kick in, but now they are kicking in. Here in the Port of Los Angeles, normally the busiest port in the country, they have seen this week a 50% drop in the ships coming in from China.
A trucker who last week was hauling about 4 or 5 containers a day, this week will likely haul just 2 or 3.
And we're already seeing people that are sharing what the shelves look like. I posted that video of that, from Walmart, and and it just you don't even need to have an opinion. It is what it is. It's happening, and this is the world we live in. But the thing that I have a problem with is having someone like Trump, who's a billionaire, and someone like Scott Bessent, who is worth anywhere from $500 million to $1.5 billion, depending on who you ask, tell us that we need to start spending less money, as if they're going to be affected at all by this.
The other thing, too, is this reporter behind me was quite snarky the other day when President Trump talked about the girl having 2 dolls. And he said, well, what? President didn't take the question, but he said, what would you tell that girl? And I said, I would tell that young girl that you will have a better life than your parents, that you and your family thanks to President Trump, can now be confident again that you will have a better life than your parents, which working class Americans had abandoned that idea. Your family will own a home. You will be able to advance. You will have a good education. You will have economic freedom. That's what we are advancing.
Yeah. So let me get this right. I'm struggling to kind of figure out the whole economics of it all. The price of dolls are going to be more expensive, and we're going to own less of them. And somehow this is going to help us buy a home. This is the most idiotic take. You know, people always say, well, if you cut back on your Starbucks, maybe you don't understand. Housing prices are insane. The interest rates are through the roof. And unless you've tried to buy a home in the last 3-4 years, you really don't understand the battle that's going on right now. And it's not going away because of the issues that exist. Trump wants the interest rate to be lowered, but that would encourage more spending. And you don't want more spending until you can get inflation to a very healthy level. A level it was just starting to get at. But Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, he's very conservative. He's not a political person. He looks at the numbers and say, well, we need to have inflation between this percentage, like 2 to 3%, for 2 quarters in a row. We need 6 straight months of this to look really good, and then we'll inch our way down and lower it 1/8 of a percentage point at a time. But what he's saying now is, with these tariffs, no one has any idea what's going to happen. We can't mess with the calculations right now.
My gut tells me that uncertainty about the path of the economy is extremely elevated, and that the downside risks have increased. The risk is, as we pointed out in our statement, the risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation have risen, but they haven't materialized yet. They're not in the data yet. So that tells me more than by intuition, because I think it's obvious actually that the right thing for us to do is we're in a good place. Our policy's in a very good place, and the right thing to do is await further clarity. And there's usually things clarify and that the appropriate direction becomes clear. That's what usually happens.
And waiting for further clarity is a challenge when you don't know, is Trump bluffing? Is this the art of the deal? His Treasury Secretary is telling people to buy less dolls for their kids? I don't know. Did I eat an edible? What am I smoking here? I'm starting to think I'm the crazy one, but I know I'm not, because everything we've said is going to happen pretty much has happened as we're watching, these container ships that come into the United States. They're not full of air. They're full of goods that we buy, right? And by not buying them, we are really putting just an abrupt halt to the economy, and people are going to start holding on to their money, and that's not a good thing, right? When people are afraid to spend, that's what a recession is. And those companies in the United States aren't going to be selling the products that they bought and purchased from China, and then they're getting, they're distributing them here. So that's going to have a ripple effect, and it is going to take a little bit of time. But we're going to see it start playing out by seeing nothing on the shelves, and then we're going to see it play out by, well, if there's nothing on the shelves, these companies are going to be laying people off, so then they're not going to be making money. And by the way, all the tariffs that are being paid are just a tax on us Americans, so that's less money that we have. Now, I'm starting to sound like a crazy person, but, if you want to just come back to the channel in 3 months, let's see where we're at. And if I'm wrong, I'd be happy to admit it. But this is what all of the smart experts are saying, and I like to listen to smart people. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to me. We'll be back this afternoon. If there's any breaking news stories, I'll talk to you in between. Join us on Patreon for a private membership-only live stream, patreon.com/Dave Neal. We'll see you later. I'm Dave Neal, and this is The Rush.